Morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Heart Devotion. To start off, let's offer a greeting, a bow to our heavenly parents and true parents. 전진 참부모님께 경배, 바로. And now to lead us through our family pledge, I'd like to invite up Reverend Milhan Stevens.
가정맹세 1. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본향 땅을 찾아 번연의 창조의 상인 지상 천국과 천상 천국을 창건할 것을 맹세하나이다. 2. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 충신, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 성자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 3. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 4대 심정권과 3대 왕권과 황족권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 4. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님의 창조의 상인 천주대 가족을 형성하여 자유와 평화와 통일과 행복의 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 5. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 매일 주체적 천상세계와 대상적 지상세계의 통일을 향해 전진적 발전을 촉진화할 것을 맹세하나이다. 6. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참부모님의 대신 가정으로서 천운을 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 7. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위하는 생활을 통하여 심정문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 8. 자녀극 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 자녀극 시대를 맞이하여 절대신앙, 절대사랑, 절대복종으로 신인의 일체 이상을 이루어 지상 천국과 천상 천국의 해방권과 석방권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Thank you very much, Reverend Milhan Stevens. And now to open us up in prayer, I'd like to invite Sachio Hachimoto-san to open us up in prayer.
Dearest Heavenly Parent, true parents, good morning. We are so grateful to get together by Zoom, centered on Dr. Yong. Heavenly Parent, we are so blessed to receive this morning devotion. East Coast, 6 o'clock, and some places are very early in the morning. But the Heavenly Parent, we can greet you, and our heart start from the, we can start a day with you, Heavenly Parent. And Dr. Yong is really pushing himself. I was privileged to meet him in Kentucky 2 days ago. He was not feeling very well, but he pushing himself so hard to convey your message, convey your love. You are living God, not a concept. And you can show the living God through you. That message was really incredible, and he was really showing your love through himself. Heavenly Parent, we are so grateful. We really want to serve you and unite with you, and unite to support to the mothers providence together, and North America can be resurrected every day. Heavenly Parent, thank you very much for this opportunity. I report this, Minoru Sachio Hashimoto, Blessed Central Family. 아주.
Thank you, Sachio Hashimoto, for your filial prayer. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Hachimoto-san, for such a beautiful prayer to open us up. Brothers and sisters, we're going to go into our gratitude sharing. Please take this moment to reflect on what you're grateful for, share with one another, and we'll see you all in a few minutes. back, everyone. I had a good morning chit chat with Reverend Juanita and Reverend Baldwin. I'd like to invite up Reverend Baldwin, if you could please share with us your gratitude points this morning.
Oh, thank you very much. Good morning, Dr. Yong.
Morning.
I was reflecting about your message yesterday. Most of my gratitude points come from your message every morning.
Thank you.
And as I read through them, the point that hit me is God's purpose of creation is my purpose of life.
Mm.
And I remember Father's speech. And in Father's speech, Father said that if our purpose was different from God's purpose, that we could never get together or we could never relate with each other.
You are right.
And so it's so precious because our purpose is the same. Our purpose is to realize the relationship of love.
Mm.
Then we can come together with God.
Yeah, right.
And then we see God. I'm just also so thankful for Mother emphasizing about that God is the heavenly parent.
Mm.
And I see that that's so important because we see in Father the absolute determination to go forward very hard and very strong. But we see in Mother the absolute determination to go forward very soft, embracing. And those two ways come together so beautifully, so that for the first time in history, we can see God's character in our true parents.
Wow.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Baldwin, your beautiful sharing. I always inspired by your beautiful sharing. 감사합니다.
Amaneo.
Mhm.
Thank you, Reverend Baldwin, for sharing with us this morning. Next, I'd like to call, I believe from Canada, Jacob Chikani. Jacob Chikani, if you could please share with us your gratitude points this morning.
Good morning. My dad's really going to love this. What always surprises me is every time there's a significant gap in my ability to attend morning devotion live through Zoom. It's always there's always someone who puts me in a position to talk to more people in the morning in my sharing. Usually it's Milhan or it's Dr. Yong. I'm always put in their group, and it's always like, oh my goodness, maybe I should put more gaps in between my live viewing so I can get this opportunity again. But I'm so grateful this morning, for this Zoom experience. It's a different level of immersion than just being in a group or by yourself watching it on Facebook or on YouTube. You're immersed and you're in a group of other people who are watching it live with you. You have that kind of responsibility to, be more aware of what's going on. You have to show up in the morning. You have to tell them what you're really thinking about, what you're grateful for in the morning. Even if you don't have anything, you have to be able to pull something out of yourself. And I'm always grateful for that because it aligns you and it tunes you with the message that you're going to receive. And also after the message, when you finally hear the words of Dr. Yong, you have to go and really find something, a piece of content that you were drawn to and share it with someone else, and maybe that informs them more about the message, or someone else does that for you, and it's always so deep, and it's always so fulfilling. It's a completely different experience, and I get so much more excited about, true parents, heavenly parents, and the divine principle, especially. Every time I come to morning devotion, or after the morning devotion, I'm always recommending it to friends and family, other family, to be more active, my sister and my brother. But also, it gets me into a mood where I'm in a completely different mindset for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week. It just makes me so excited. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Wow, this is a really you are amazing boy. Jacob Tiscani, how old are you?
I'm 24.
Wow, but you looks like a 12 years old boy.
Oh.
Oh my God. You are such a good boy and good sharing. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm really appreciating. Now is a more second generation, more young generation coming and joining our morning devotion. Now our morning devotion become Global Morning Devotion Mega Church, Global Morning Devotion Mega Community, because every day we are checking that more than 10,000 people are watching. This is really already become, we are mega global morning devotion mega community. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
Thank you for sharing, Jacob. And just like Jacob said, it's a different level of immersion. So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can join the live audience by going to edu.familyfed.org. All right, so we're going to start today with our message. I'd like to invite up our beloved Continental Director, Dr. Chunshik Yong.
안녕하세요. Good morning, my dear brothers and sisters, clergy, ambassador for peace. 안녕하십니까? I am very, very strong. Just only voice a little bit gone. I am very strong, my brothers and sisters. Yesterday morning, I went to Greater Louisville Family Church to have breakfast together with the brothers and sisters. This breakfast meeting was also a victory celebration for the Saturday's Marriage Blessing Summit. So we also cut a victory cake. I asked each member to share their reflection about the summit. And then state leader, Reverend Yong Presley, also shared his testimony, how he brought Bishop Bethany Wade and his family to the summit. While listening to members' reflection, I received a lot of new inspiration I share with the members there. Despite of many kind of the challenges, the first trip of my second 50th state tour was successfully completed in Kentucky. I really appreciate our sub-regional leader, our Takamis couples, beautiful leadership, all leadership really unite together with the Reverend Takamis leadership and really create beautiful unity and harmony. And also I personally appreciate our state leader of the Kentucky and the Reverend Yong Presley. Let's read, and then today I would like to speak with the title, Beginning of the Heavenly Unified World, Raising the Banner of the Victory in Oceania, from Contents Through Mother's memoir. I shared yesterday some part, and today I share another part. Okay, share please.
The following day, December 10, attendees of the Asia Pacific First Lady Summit 2019 gathered at the Narajamayang Cultural Center. The opening ceremony began with an address by the First Lady. Then my emissary and daughter-in-law, Women's Federation for World Peace International President Moon Hun-suk, read the founder's message on my behalf. Through her, I conveyed my love not only for Palau, but for all of Oceania, the starting point of the Pacific civilization. In the past, Father Moon proclaimed the advent of the Pacific Rim era and emphasized the providential importance of the Asia-Pacific region. In 1992, he wrote in his calligraphic Chinese characters, "The unified world will begin in Oceania," and offered prayers and other spiritual conditions for the restoration of Oceania to God. The 40-day cosmic Canaan course for the settlement of Chunoguk created the foundation for an Asia-Pacific Union. I gained national level support in November at the Cambodia Rally of Hope and the Taiwan Rally of Hope, which connected with Chinese communities across the globe. At the Africa Summit in Niger, I won the support of Africa on the continental level. Palau's Rally of Hope, Summit and Blessing Ceremony was the capstone of the Asia Pacific Union. The First Ladies attending the Asia Pacific First Ladies Summit resolved to address the fundamental problems of the world with a maternal heart. They called it the Day of Women's Liberation, established by the true mother of humankind. It was a true Woman's Day for another reason also. In contrast to summits held elsewhere, it was women who were in charge of the preparations, assisted by men. The next day, December 11, the government-sponsored blessing ceremony took place. Historic events always hit bumps in the road, and this one was no exception. As midnight approached on the day before the ceremony, the president's secretariat informed us that our schedule conflicted with a state budget meeting, so the president would not be able to attend. It was a bolt out of the blue that left us all deflated. Our spirits were revived, however.
Yeah, just a moment. Yeah, okay, please.
Our spirits were revived, however, when, as the First Lady of Palau and the other First Ladies entered the blessing venue the following morning, the MC joyfully announced that the president had arrived and was making his way to the stage. Palau's First Ladies Summit and Blessing was a milestone in God's providence. It marked Oceania as the starting point of the Pacific civilization, which unfolds around the maternal heart of giving and giving again. The Pacific Ocean is known as a symbol of peace and womanhood, especially motherhood. The victory was due not just to the leaders and people of that beautiful island nation, but also to my two daughters-in-law and Asia Pacific Family Federation members who united in earnest prayer offered with the heart to move heaven. We are one family and one holy community of Heavenly Parent. With the conviction that to stop is to fail, to persevere is to succeed, I keep moving forward undaunted, no matter what difficulties come. I need to be a mother of love and benevolence who can overlook faults and embrace all circumstances with a maternal heart as wide as the ocean. That is why even today, I stay awake at night with the heart to cover all the world's children with blankets while they sleep.
Today, in connection with yesterday's content, I would like to share with you some of the content I report to the mother for the Palau First Lady Summit. Please read.
Yananim, Hunsuknim, and the Women's VIP and WFWP delegation to attend the summit paid a courtesy visit to the president. President Thomas Remengesau Jr., despite his long trip, expressed his gratitude to the guests who visited Palau and showed respect and longing for True Father and the peace movement. He also emphasized the role of women in the peace movement and the importance of the younger generation in the future, and said he hoped everyone would make good memories during their stay in Palau. Moon Hunsuk, chairman of the Women's Federation for World Peace, then expressed True Mother's regards, said Palau was like a role model of the kingdom of heaven on earth, and that True Father really loved Palau and spread the peace movement here. She expressed thanks for cooperating with this meaningful work now that the Asia Pacific First Lady Summit is starting in beautiful Palau. In the afternoon, we had time to meet WFWP representatives, including Palau First Lady Debbie Remengesau, Yananim, and Hunsuknim. That time, First Lady Debbie Remengesau said, "I am a blessed family, blessed by the late President Samyang Moon in 2005. It is a huge honor that President Sam Moon blessed me during his lifetime. And in particular, I was the only current leader to attend his Sangwa ceremony. Palau has the culture of an island country. All women, politically influential women, are the main characters of creating peace. It is important that peace begins with me, and it is important that it begins with the family. My term of office expires next year. After I resign from the presidency, I will do my best as a wife and grandmother of my grandchildren. I also established the Remengesau Foundation. This is because I met President Moon and realized what is needed for a peaceful world and to pass down to the younger generation in the future. And I learned what I have to do. I hope you made good memories in beautiful Palau during your stay and come back again with your family. At dinner time, the president spoke, and he was an amazing speaker. He said, "I'm the president of this country, but I attended this banquet as a guest. It was because my wife, host, and first lady invited me." So everyone laughed happily. The president continued, "The first lady is the bridge between the government and society that is connected to youth, families, schools, religious organizations, and communities. Therefore, the First Lady must be part of the solution to the problems facing today's society. First of all, women must participate in solutions that all countries around the world face."
Wow, thank you so much. I again remind the Palau's First Ladies Summit. It was a really incredible event, and True Mother was so inspired to see such a beautiful event in Palau. And then our international headquarters continuously now promoting the First Ladies Association for World Peace. So let's support our Women Federation for World Peace in America and Canada for them to really organize very well the future First Ladies Summit in America. Living divine principle, the dual characteristics of God and the created universe. Heavenly Honey, please.
The dual characteristics of God. How can we know the divine nature of the invisible God? One way to fathom his deity is by observing the universe which he created. Thus, St. Paul said in Romans chapter 1, verse 20, "Ever since the creation of the world, his invisible nature, namely his eternal power and deity, has been clearly perceived in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse."
How can we know the divine nature of the invisible God? One way to fathom his deity is by observing the universe which he created. EDP mentioned that. Fathoming his deity by observing the universe means we can know God by looking at ourselves. This is because we are the substantial manifestation of the universe. Human beings is microcosm. That's why Saint Paul said in Rome, chapter 1, verse 20, "Ever since the creation of the world, his invisible nature, namely his eternal power and deity, has been clearly perceived in the things that have been made. So they are without excuse." We have a mind and body. In our mind, we have intellect, emotion, and will. Additionally, just as we have a heart and love, the God who created human beings has the same characteristics, because there can be no result without a cause. Therefore, by researching the self, our own self, one can know God. And also here, Bible mentioned Jesus talking about John chapter 14, verse 8 to 10. Philip said, Lord, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us. Jesus answered, don't you know me, Philip? Even after I have been among you such a long time, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Don't you believe that I am in the Father and that the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority. Rather, it is the Father living in me who is doing his work. This is a really incredible expression. You know, what Jesus saying that? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? I am the Son of God. You know, I'm the Son of God. You see me, you know, immediately you can guess who is my Father. Oh, wow, Father. That Jesus is very much confidently talk to his disciple Philip, who I am. Who are you? Jesus is not a fallen man. Jesus is God's substantial object partner. Therefore, when fallen human beings are restored, there is no one who can deny that God exists in me like Jesus did, and that I exist in God. So what is the conclusion? How can we know God? It means that we can know God through me, the center of the creation. Children resemble their parents. I am a resultant being. This means that the existence of me eventually resembles the character and appearance of God, the Creator. If children do not resemble their parents, who will resemble their parents? Very clear. Ever since the creation of the world, his invisible nature, namely his eternal power and deity, has been clearly perceived in the things that have been made. So they are without excuse. God's power and divinity are apparent in human beings and all creation. Human beings and all things are textbook for knowing God. That's why Father talking about how when he discovered divine principle, sometimes some content of the Bible very confused. Of course, he discovered based on the Bible, but most of his content, how discover God's eternal truth, he said, through the nature. Through the nature. Human beings and all things are the textbook for knowing God. You know? And the human beings and all things resemble God the most. To know the symbolic God, observe all things. To know God's image, observe human beings. When true Father discovered the divine principle, he learned many things from nature. Nature is the museum of humankind's love. How lamentable that ignorant human beings cannot know the power and divinity of God by looking at nature. Fallen humans cannot feel God's intellect, emotion, will, and love through nature. That's the fall. Through artistic relations and oneness with the nature, we can reach mystical trends like a state. That's why even Buddha mentioned, even many saints and sages mentioned that, according to their experience, when they become oneness with God, and then they really discover the reality of God. Our divine principle really logically and scientifically explain very clearly God's existence. Continue.
Just as the invisible nature of the Maker is concretely displayed in his works of art, everything in the created universe is a substantial manifestation of some quality of the Creator's invisible divine nature. Just as we can come to know the character of an artist through his works, so we can understand the nature of God by observing the diverse things of creation.
Thank you, Heavenly Honey. Everything is in the created universe is a substantial manifestation of some quality of Creator's invisible divine nature. I resemble God's divinity and am his substantial object pattern. You need to know that we are God's greatest masterpiece. Because humans are God's greatest masterpiece, all of God's characteristics are within us. You should know the fact that each entity in the entire creation is God's masterpiece. How grateful are we when we see God's masterpiece? My brothers and sisters, I am God's masterpiece because I am child of God. Then what's my greatest masterpiece? It is my children, right? Wow, amazing who I am. I am God's greatest masterpiece. Who is God? He is my eternal parents. If we know this fundamental relationship between God and me as a parent and child, we can solve any issues, any problems. That's why how can we teach God's existence, God's dream, God's hope, God's purpose of creation? This is our homework to teach to all mankind. Intangible characteristics are expressed through a visible substantial form. Consequently, God's invisible characteristics are all expressed through us. You know, how we express our heart and mind. Our heart and mind, even though our heart and mind, we cannot see it, invisible, but expressed through our body. How can you know you are now very angry or not? We can see your emotion and your face and your action. We can know that. That's why even though God is invisible, but we can know through his human being. That's why God expressed through the visible substantial form, through all things, through each one of the human beings. God has intellect and emotion and will. That's why we also have emotion and will, right? Intellect. Same as God. I am very upset with something. God also can be very upset when he sees evil things. He has intellect. He has a power of the will. Without power of the will, how he create all things, how he create human being. That's why what I have, intellect and emotion and will and love and heart, actually God has the same things because we are the one who resemble God. That's why divine principle mentioned, how can know God? How can we know God's deity and power? You have everything in you. That's why through you can know God. Very clear. Through you can know God. Where you are looking for God. You are masterpiece of God. You are children of God. Children resemble whom? Resemble parents. Wow, many people looking for God from sky, from somewhere else. What's the best way to know God? What's the best way to know God? Through me, through my character, through my heart, through my emotion, through my intellect. It is a really divine principle guide us really, really very clearly. Today's youth ministry, the three great pains of Abraham. Abraham's family faced many trials due to having to inherit all of the historical cause of victory on the third generation, with Adam's family as the first generation and Noah's family as the second generation. Abraham is the third generation. Abraham faced three trials or three types of great suffering. He first experienced the pain of leaving his parents' hometown that he was attached to. The second pain was the being forced to give his wife to a foreign king. The third pain was having to sacrifice his only son Isaac as an offering when he was 100 years old. The most difficult pain of them all was having to sacrifice his only son Isaac. Sacrificing Isaac as an offering was a pain greater than that of sacrificing himself in front of God. There is no record of whether Abraham told his wife Sarah of God's command to sacrifice Isaac as an offering. Bible not much talking about Abraham's suffering. Bible not much talking about Abraham's hardship. Bible not much talking about how Heavenly Father deals with Abraham's family. Bible did not clearly describe when Adam and Eve fell, how was God's heart is so much painful. Did not mention. Consider just how intense Sarah's pain would have been if Abraham told her of Isaac becoming a sacrificial offering. Or in the case of Abraham, have not having told Sarah and going through the sacrifice by himself. Consider Abraham's heart, a heart of the solitary pain of having to go through with sacrificing Isaac while being forced to keep this a secret from his wife. That's why we need to understand the heart of the Abraham. That's why our divine principle part 2 is very, very powerful, very important, because we can inherit through the central figures, cause. We can inherit their heart, their pain, their sorrowful, suffering cause. That's the reason why we have to learn part 2, divine principle. Wow, I love Abraham, even though he failed to offer 3 offerings. How was, to recover his failure? How much he put his heart, how much he determined. He has absolute faith toward God. When he received some kind of a comment, God asked him to offer his son Isaac. And he did not talk to Isaac. Maybe he did not talk to his wife Sarah. And then going up to the, some mountain with his son. How was Abraham's heart? Can you imagine about that? He is a human being as well. Even though he received God's comment, he decided to offer his son. How much does he love his son? Only son. But need to offer. Maybe he could not express and talk to his wife. On the way, the journey to go to the mountain. Can you imagine that? How much sorrowful he was. But he loves God. He wants to unite with the heavenly parents. That's why he became the ancestor of his descendants. I really love the name Abraham. Do you know what Abraham means? Will become the father of all people. Abraham. There is a reason that God told Abraham to offer Isaac as a sacrifice, as a condition of the greater indemnity. Despite having failed in offering the symbolic offering, there's a reason for everything that God does. Thus, there is surely some sort of the meaning in regard to the symbolic offering. Surely God did not choose the dove and sheep and heifer simply because he liked them as offerings. God is not that kind of vague God. Ask them to offer 3 kinds of offering: dove, sheep, and heifer. That is clear meaning. Because God likes that kind of animals. God is not that kind of a vague God. Where there is a symbolic things, there is a very, very clear meaning. What is the origin of the 3 great pains of Abraham? The source of the pain must be from Adam's family. The 3 pains of Abraham can be seen as a reenactment. Do you understand? Reenactment means? The 3 pains of Abraham can be seen as a reenactment of the 3 great pains of God toward Adam's family. God originally created the beautiful Garden of Eden at the time of the creation. However, he experienced the suffering of having the surrender it all to Satan due to Adam and Eve's fall. This was reenacted in the form of God's first command, through which Abraham experienced the pain of abandoning his beloved hometown environment and leaving his parents. Can you imagine? Heavenly Father created the universe, created the sun and moon and star and ocean, everything, incredible universe, for the sake of the human being. But because of Adam and Eve, God lost his property. And, Garden of Eden is made by Satan. Satan become the king of the God's Eden. Lost the environment. God lost his hometown. That's why repeating same problems in Abraham's family. And Abraham, as a God's position, as a central figure, he need to recover that. When he leave his hometown, can you imagine? He just follow God's order. He need to leave his father and mother, his brothers and sisters. You know? That was it, because Abraham is really filial son to Terah, his father. That's why leaving from his hometown is really very painful. We can learn why Abraham need to go to that kind of course. Then came God's pain of the surrendering Eve, God's daughter and future wife of Adam, to Satan. This was reenacted in the form of Abraham having to endure the pain of the being forced to give his wife to foreign king. Then came the scene of the Abraham offering his only son Isaac as a sacrifice, a son born to him when he was 100 years old, whose pain is being reenacted here. It can be seen as an enactment of the pain in the place of God's sorrow of having lost his only son Adam. When God lost his son, first son, Adam, wow, how much God is crying. When God lost Eve, taken by evil archangel, his first daughter, Eve, his only son, Adam, how much God's heart was so much painful, how much he suffered. You know, that Adam's family's three great pains. And then need to, again, these kind of things happening in Abraham's family because need to restore Adam's family's failure. Need to restore God's heart. We can see that the cause of three great pains of Abraham in the end lies in Adam's family. To be more precise, the fall of Adam's family can be seen as the incident which became the source of the suffering of Abraham's family. This is an amazing discovery. Noah's family, everything connected to Adam's family. Abraham's family's any incident, anything happen, connect to Adam's family. My brothers and sisters need to know that. Why Abraham need to go to tackle the three great pain? Because it was happening in Adam's family. That's why he need to restore back through the indemnity cause. This means that we must inherit the suffering as done by Abraham's family, of the suffering God expressed through Adam's family. If fallen human beings are to seek God by having discovered this truth, it is easy to view God as a cruel God. If we are unaware of this aspect of the principle, how else could God do something as serving the bond between Abraham and his wife? Okay, mistake. Okay, it is easy to view God as a cruel God if we are unaware of this aspect of the principle. How else could God do something as a severing the bond between Abraham and his wife? How else could God bless Abraham a son while at 100 years of age, only to command him to step and kill Isaac moment later? Many people say God is very much cruel God. You know, God is a God of the judgment. Many people misunderstood about that. Then came God's pain of surrendering Eve, God's daughter and future wife of Adam, to Satan. This was reenacted in the form of Abraham having to endure the pain of being forced to give his wife to a foreign king. Then came the sin of Abraham offering his only son Isaac as a sacrifice, a son born to him when he was 100 years old, whose pain is being enacted here. It can be seen as an enactment of pain in place of God's sorrow over having lost his only son Adam. Wow. Everything kind of the express of the God's suffering, God's hardness. We need to know about that. How can we restore back God's heart? This is the issue. Right, my brothers and sisters? If you know to understand someone's heart, and we need to understand his background and his pain and his sorrow. Without understanding his sorrow and pain and difficulties, we never understand that person's heart. That's why I say things. What does a fall mean? Fall means what? Lost God's heart. That's why, in order to understand God's heart, you need to understand Adam's family. Since God lost his children, his only son Adam, his only daughter Eve, he lost his all property, all the universe taken by Satan. God lost everything. He lost Adam, his son, and his daughter. He lost his all property just one day. Can you imagine how much God was suffering? He is more sensitive than anyone else. Because God is a God of love, very, very, very sensitive. When he feels pain, cannot imagine his pain, how much great it was. Nobody understands about that. And how to liberate God without understanding his suffering. How can we understand God? How can we build up artistic relationship between God and me? That's why we can learn through Abraham's family. What is God's pain was in Adam's family? We can see many examples of this in fallen world of today. We come to witness cruel incidents at times. However, upon further examination, we come to understand that such cruel individuals have ancestors met with unjust incidents in the background. People become more cruel the greater their resentment and injustice faced. Cruelty is not an issue for those who with accumulated resentment. God of Han. Do you understand? Han means bitter heart. That is also not enough expression. God of Han experience when he lost Adam and Eve cannot be expressed in words. An external view of the fallen human beings' path of the seeking and arriving at God can be seen as a cruel one. The experience of such injustice cannot be understood unless one is met with the exact same experience. Likewise, in the case of alleviating God's suffering, God cannot be liberated from his suffering unless a human being undergo the same course of suffering. Because of all, human not only inherit the heart of God, but also inherit his pain and suffering and sorrow, to become the true children. Parents and children need to connect with their hearts and minds. How can a child establish a parent-child relationship if he or she does not know the sorrow and pain of the parents? Heaven is the place where the heart communicating. Without artistic communication between parents and children, how can they know each other? Therefore, my brothers and sisters, think of suffering. I encounter as the suffering of the meeting God's suffering. And think that the way to solve the pain you encounter is the way to release God's pain. Abraham had the responsibility to inherit the suffering of Adam's family and eventually release God's sufferings. Therefore, we need to understand and release the suffering around us as God's suffering, and the suffering of the nation as God's suffering, and the suffering of the mankind as God's suffering. Without understanding God's suffering, we cannot build up the relationship parent and child. As a child, as a sons and daughters, need to know my parents' heart. Without knowing God's heart, without knowing God's suffering, how can we release him? How can we liberate him? How can we accomplish his will? That's why any suffering come to me, we need to appreciate. This suffering is the way to meet God's suffering. I can understand more deeper God's heart. Thank you, Heavenly Father. You give me that kind of suffering. And through this opportunity, I can understand you more. I can have a more close relationship with you. Heavenly God, I love you no matter what. You are my eternal Father. You are my eternal parent. I am child of God. If we have that kind of attitude, we can overcome any suffering. And also through the suffering, we can liberate God's heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yong, for giving us such a deep message on the significance of Abraham's course in easing God's sorrowful heart, and for us to find deeper meaning in our own suffering. Brothers and sisters, let's spend the next few minutes reflecting on what was just said, digest it, and share any insights we had with each other. We'll see you all in a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful sharing. I had a one-on-one intimate sharing with Naoko-san from Terrytown, Belvedere area. I'd like to call on Naoko Kato to share with us her reflection from today's morning devotion.
Thank you, best friend. Yes, I couldn't explain well in English. I could talk with him in Japanese, so I was very surprised. He speaks very good Japanese. My children, they couldn't do that much, so I'm so surprised. And I shared with him through Dr. Yong's lecture this morning about Abraham's 3 pains. Whenever I hear his sermon about God's pain or those central figures' pain, Adam's family or Noah's families or Abraham's family's difficulties and those central figures' painful heart, I'm really amazed our true father found this kind of truth. Normal man or woman, we cannot find this kind of truth. Heavenly Parents' pain. So our true father is really amazing. His sacrifice, he sacrificed his family also. He sacrificed his children too. I really thankful to our true father. He found divine principle truth, and also we could understood existence of spiritual world. I clearly understood the spiritual world existence. Then we have a hope we can live in an eternal world with brothers and sisters, with heavenly parental heart. Anyway, I'm very, very grateful for Dr. Yong, the guidance about God's sorrow, God's pain, God's heart. So I'm grateful for our true father, true mother.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naoko-san. Your deep sharing. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Naoko-san, for sharing with us your reflection. Next, I see she's back from Princeton. Eunmi and Yujin, share with us what you gave from today's morning devotion.
Okay. Hi, good morning.
Wow, Eunmi, Eugene together today.
Yes.
So happy to see our second generation.
Nice to see you too, Dr. Yong. Good morning, everyone. Honestly, Dr. Yong, I don't know. I don't know what to do with myself right now because this just feels like a whole new revelation. And like I've been sitting here and I'm like, I don't even, like my body really feels weird. And I like when you were explaining the great pains of Abraham, I just had shivers going down my body and I'm just like, oh my God, like this, just thinking about God having to keep all of this in his heart for all these years, even when Abraham went through all those challenges, God still never revealed it to him. God never told him, you know, this is why you're going through this. God still kept it in his heart. And I feel really grateful to True Father for discovering this. And yeah, I was just sitting and thinking, now that I know this truth, like now that we know this, how can I hurt God? Like how can I be the reason, the reason God suffers again? So I'm really grateful for this. And I feel like I still need to process. There's a lot of processing that I need to do right now because I feel really overwhelmed by this. And I'm really grateful for you, Dr. Young.
Thank you. And then Eugene.
Yeah. For me, like as I was listening, I couldn't help but think of like true parents also. And I could also see how true parents experience the three great things themselves, leaving their hometown of North Korea and not being able to return. And also like, losing their true children. And, like fathers, like first marriage. I felt like true parents have also gone through these three great things. And that's why they're able to relate to God's heart. And it made me think of actually just like a heart of repentance towards ever being angry with God, like for any sort of suffering. Because like we recently lost our aunt, and I remember when I thought about it, I was really upset. I was like, how could you like do this? Like, what about the children? And I was really upset. And then now this makes me think, like there's a reason why even when like true parents lost their true children, like why they were never resentful to God, because they understood like God had gone through much more than this. And it just made me feel so like repentful for all the times when something happened to me and I was scornful towards God, instead of like connecting to God's pain and understanding that actually Heavenly Father has gone through like much more than me, and his heart breaks for me even more than I think, that have hurt me. So I think for me, it just takes me back to a place of repentance, just to re-listen and to go to a place where I need to understand that God's heart breaks for us even more, for all the things that we go through. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Eunmi and Eugene. Beautiful sharing. 감사합니다. I'm so inspired to see young generation always watching morning devotion. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Unmi. Thank you, Eugene, for sharing with us your reflection today. And on to announcement. If you're feeling inspired, please feel free to invite people to join morning devotion. You can share the link. You can share the link, edu.familyfed.org. That's where everything morning devotion is. If it's your first time tuning into morning devotion, we are Family Federation. Find out more about us by going to familyfed.org. That's familyfed.org. And of course, if you're feeling especially inspired, there's going to be a link in the chat for you to donate to support Morning Devotion Ministries. Your contribution goes a long way to expanding Morning Devotion, making it available to many, many people around the world and within America. And now for a musical offering from, I believe, Worcester. Correct me if I'm wrong, New England region. We have a special musical offering from Mark Hanlon. Mark Hanlon, everyone.
Morning, Dr. Yong. Morning, everybody.
Great, Mark.
I got a one song here, a short song. I originally wanted to do like a gospel song or a spiritual song, but I kept hearing this song during morning devotion in my head. And when Dr. Yong, when you were going around to all the different cities and we saw all the holy grounds, places that I visited, people that I've known. And this song kept going around in my head. So it's just a song of appreciation. It's, especially since you, for coming here and for keep morning service, morning devotion every day, and for visiting everybody all over the country. It's not easy to do. So it's just a song of appreciation. I was helping True Mother on the total salvation road when she said to me, son, could you help me with this heavy load? You're going to the USA, Dr. Young, on the plane you shall ride. And so I went to Belvedere and then I settled down inside. She asked me if I'd give morning devotions every day to every man. So I said, listen, brothers and sisters, ambassadors for peace, 안녕하십니까. I've traveled every road in this dear land. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Crossed the devil bear, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. In Reno, Chicago, Fargo, Minnesota, Buffalo, Toronto, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Manuel, Paloma, Bangor, Baltimore, Salvador, Emerald, Topekilla, Barranquilla, Embedilla, Ezekiel. Everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. I crossed the desert bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Boston, Charleston, Dayton, Louisiana, Washington, Houston, Kingston, Texarkana, Monterey, Faraday, Santa Fe, Tallapoosa, Glen Rock, Black Rock, Little Rock, Tuscaloosa, Tennessee, Chicopee, Spirit Lake, Grand Lake, Devil Lake, Great Lake, for Pete's sake. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. I crossed the desert bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Louisville, Nashville, Knoxville, Omaha, Shepherdsville, Jacksonville, Waterville, Costa Rica, Pittsfield, Springfield, Bakersfield, Shreveport, Hackensack, Cadillac, Fond du Lac, Davenport, Idaho, Jellicoe, Argentina, Diamantina, Pasadena, Kalamazoo, you know what I mean? I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. I crossed the desert bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Pittsburgh, Parkersburg, Gatlinburg, Colorado, Ellenburg, Rexburg, Vicksburg, Elderville, Laramore, Norwich, Hamilton, Chattanooga, Chaska, Nebraska, Alaska, Opelika, Baraboo, Waterloo, Kalamazoo, Kansas City, Sioux City, Dodge City. What a pity! I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. I crossed the desert bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Dr. Yong's been everywhere.
Oh my God! You
You've been
so
everywhere.
really comfort me so much. Wow. Now no more stress.
Yeah.
Because you comfort me so much. Wow. And then you are no more young guy. Young people only can compose that kind of song. You are young man, Mark Hanlon. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yong.
Thank you.
Thank you for such a beautiful song, Uncle Mark. Very personalized and very appropriate for after Dr. Yong Tusi State Tour. Thank you. Now to close off in prayer, I'd like to ask from Albany, our Albany pastor, Reverend Sebastian Waymer, to close off in prayer.
Oh, dear Heavenly Parent, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your parents. Thank you for all those historic figures who experienced your heart being kicked out of your own creation, being relegated to a dead reality, proclaimed by somebody here in upstate New York. I'm so sorry. You're not dead. You're alive. Thank you, Heavenly Parent. Thank you, true parents, for bringing us this incredible message this morning to Dr. Yong. And not only Abraham, but that you had to do it over again with Jesus, your son Jesus, who could not have a wife, he couldn't have a family, was kicked out of his own home. The prophet in his own country, in his own home, is not received. And I'm so grateful for this impossible message, allowing us to come to know where you are at, to establish a common base with you. And Parent, you want us to somehow find a way, understand your heart, not because you just that's the only way to go. And Parent, I'm so grateful for Dr. Yong. True Mother sending him here and sharing this with us. Thank you for his experience, and thank you for Mark Hanlon. lifting up Dr. Young and coming up with this incredible song. God bless you, Mark. God bless you. Thank you for the United States of America, Heavenly Parent. Thank you for Japan. Thank you for Korea. Thank you for this particular generation, all the people with a physical body here on this earth right now. I pray that your spirit can find repose and comfort by us sharing our hearts with each other and creating a hammock where you can lie down and have a snooze. And let's forget about all this past pain. Well, there's a long way to go. I pray, Heavenly Parent, for your blessing upon this week, for Thanksgiving, for Abraham Lincoln instating that, and like James Angeli said, our dear brothers and sisters, for coming from Africa, going through this incredible pain of leaving their home, leaving their families, and many times having to watch their own children totally abused. And Heavenly Parent, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting that I'm in a group with 10,000 people right now. I pray for your blessing upon this week and for all the incredible things that we're going to do together, continue to do. I pray this in gratitude in the name of Sebastian, who I'm a member of the Blessed Center family. Adieu.
Adieu. Wow. Oh my God. Thank you, our Reverend Sebastian. Really, your prayer really makes me cry again. Thank you for your tearful prayer. Your prayer is really comfort God's heart. Thank you so much, Sebastian. And also, my brothers and sisters have a nice Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
Okay, 감사합니다. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sebastian, for offering such a beautiful, heartfelt prayer to close us off. And thank you all for joining us for today's morning devotion, day 393. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye.
네, 감사합니다. Have a nice night.
Thank you, Dr. Young.
Friday.
Care.
Namaste.